Look at this beautiful building. Many gamers and environment art students would assume many structures would be built as standalone buildings because this game is an isometric top-down view. But the whole game is built on modular building kits, as it is the foundation of modern environment art. Today, we are taking a close look at modular kits, the tools inside Larian's game engine to assemble the kits, the assets wireframe, and the materials they use to build whole towns and villages using very few texture sets and flexible building kits. But when relying so heavily on modular building kits, the danger is visible repetitions. To break this up, Larian's senior artists build custom tools like this one, a destruction brush directly into their pipeline. It allowed every member of the art team to modify any roof asset and make it look unique to a certain point. One very important thing to understand about modular building kits is how it is designed for maximum reusage. Some of the work by one artist was created for one area, and it ended up being used in many other locations. Let's begin with the work of Tim Wilsem and the lower city model set. Look at how these primary walls and arches are separated. The secret to an efficient kit is building basic components that will answer all our needs and that will snap perfectly onto a grid in the engine. We can see the trims being used here. We have the high poly sculpts that were baked onto lower meshes, and trim sheets were created from those. Let's take a look at the system they were using in their engine. Many in-house engines have similar tools that allow artists to assemble large building kits. But now, here's the real magic and how environment artists should approach modular building kits creation. Here are the kits created for the glass house. The artist initially created those specifically for the Iron Throne, but it ended up being used in many other areas such as the Foundry, the lower city buildings, and Ramessit Tower. Additional kits were created for these other locations, of course, but some pieces of the first kits were reused many times, maximizing the usage of assets in a very good way to optimize a game. Even though it's not a fast action game, every bit of optimization matters. Also, by mapping the geometry of high poly sculpts to trim sheets, they could add a lot of details to their environments at a low cost and helping in making many assets look more unique. Before going further, I want to give a bit of context for this video. I already made a video on Baldur's Gate 3 a while ago. Many people in the comment section of other videos suggested that I should offer a shorter version of my original game breakdown, as they ran around 40 minutes on average. I thought it was a great idea, and I'm adding a bit more content while focusing totally on environment art and any topics that are relevant to this field. You can always watch the original video here. Let's now look into the work of Maxim Bolotin and his house tile sets. This kit includes about 300 pieces of walls, doors, windows, and roofs with different sizes based on 4 texture sets. So this gives a lot of room for the artist to assemble the kit and having very different looking structures. We can appreciate the final version in-game here and see how everything works perfectly. When adding some set dressing, foliage, while not looking unique, the buildings work very well in the same architectural language without looking like copy and pasted assets. But even the most versatile and well-built modular building kit relies on high-quality materials to work. Let's look at the work of senior 3D artist Frédérick Senesael. By looking closely at his work on Baldur's Gate 3, we can see that most materials rely on physically accurate displacement rather than flat normal bakes. Pay close attention to the roughness maps on these materials. The artist balances roughness transitions perfectly, ensuring that dry, porous stone surfaces maintain diffuse scattering, while recessed crevices capture moisture accumulation and sharp, high-frequency specular reflections. We can see that many materials were created from the same substance designer's graph, probably providing generators to expose values and from one shader, allow artists to change the state of the material for maximal reusability. Mastering clean displacement, roughness ranges, and harnessing such a high level of reusability is exactly what separates basic-looking assets from actual AAA production standards. It's a foundational technical framework that we'll be building from scratch, step by step, inside my upcoming course on advanced AAA shader development. If you're learning from these videos but are still struggling to put everything together into a full environment, that's exactly why I built my full course. You'll build the entire scene step by step in real time, understanding composition, scale, materials, and lighting, so you can apply the same process to your own worlds. These environments were created by students using the same workflow you will learn here. It's designed for artists who already know the basics and want to create a professional portfolio work, not just isolated studies. This isn't about learning tools, it's about learning how professionals build environments. If that's where you're trying to get to, you can check the link in the description. Now, one very interesting tech that Larian used is photogrammetry. Lead artist Gert-Jan van de Put was responsible for helping set up the photogrammetry pipeline that was used for rocks, cliffs, trees, and ruin assets. The artist took the pictures and implemented the assets in the game. This is very interesting, as 10 years ago, I remember hearing many artists crying about this technology, saying this will put many 3D artists out of a job. And I see now that it's been used by more and more studios. Even some have created positions named photogrammetry specialists. Jobs in 3D art and environment art did not disappear or shrink. Every task of photogrammetry needs a qualified artist to process, clean up, and make the assets work in the engine. I might go as far as to say that the scanning fear of 2015 makes me think of the AI terror of the last few years. In the eyes of investors removed from the floor of a game development studio, it might seem like AI can replace devs. But the reality is very far from this, and I think we will see a different way of adoption in many studios. I am aware of Larian's history with Gen AI, and the frustration of many concept artists of having to paint over concepts generated by AI. And I know people close to me affected in their daily jobs by Gen AI. But I will only say here that I don't think all concept artists will be out of a job in the future. It might be a similar situation as what happened to us 3D artists in the past 10 years. Folks who like to work on simple props and especially organic assets have been unhappy, as most studios won't ask them to work on those tasks, as it's hard to justify. Considering making games as a business, artists now work on the many other tasks that will always be required. That's of course a much bigger topic than I can summarize in a few seconds, but I will leave it as that for now. Now onto the work of Ian van der Mijen, I hope my pronunciation is not so bad, who provides us with an amazing insight into their assets polygon budget and modeling strategy. Let's start with simple props, like furniture. Since the camera's perspective is top-down, the finer details are not visible. So let's examine the whole pipeline for those. We have the high poly sculpts here. Notice how only the parts needed are produced. Only half the bed in this case, as the other half is a copy and also will be barely visible because of the camera angle. Now onto the actual in-game models with their wireframes. Notice that the panels on the headboard are actual geometry and not relying on baked normal maps. This is because modern engines can handle geometry easily, but the texture memory budget is still a challenge. And with a huge game like this one, every megabytes that can be cut will help the game run better down the road. So we can see that the poly count is very low for these type of assets, as it should, because we don't need more geometry. Good materials offering a good material response to the light, like we can see here with the roughness, and it seems they are using a normal map for the bed cover and bed sheets. We can see more details and the asset looks of higher quality. Now let's move on to more important props. While not exactly hero props, there is a bit more geometry in these. Not much in general, but there is a higher density where it matters most. For the boat, the smaller attachments have much more geometry, while for the stove, it is also the case, but most of it is using chamfers and bevels to catch dynamic light sources organically rather than relying on flat-baked normal maps too much. Again, the same strategy of cutting on expensive maps, especially for unique assets. Let's take a quick look at a real hero prop. Made by artist Selena T, the Spider's Lair. It is using much more geometry than simple furniture assets, but it is also very well optimized. Now, the coolest tool shared by the team working on the game. The destruction painting tool created by senior generalist artist Konstantin Melnik. So it looks like it was made using the geometry nodes in Blender, and it seems to be based on vertex painting. It seems that the tiling material is culling a hole using different type of shapes. It then loads different presets for the mesh under the roof tiles and applies some randomization so every destruction looks slightly different. Those kind of tools are what makes working in a studio with brilliant devs such a blast. It is rather simple but so smart, it makes the life of many members of the team so much easier. I'm happy to introduce a new partner of the channel, Bundle Foundry. You can get several tutorials for a very good price here. The current bundle that is still available is called Become a 3D Artist Mega Tutorial Bundle. Several bundles just launched. You want to check this out. Check out the price also. This is great value. This is a great opportunity to level up your skills at a great price. Links to the bundles will be in the description. A brief word on Larian's proprietary Divinity Engine 4. Divinity Engine uses a highly optimized, rigid grid snapping algorithm designed specifically to prevent microscopic gaps between environment assets, ensuring perfect light map baking and flawless asset alignment across thousands of placed meshes. Because Baldur's Gate 3 features a dynamic, multi-layered camera perspective, the engine has to process an immense amount of visual density. It does so using real-time occlusion culling. Structures beneath the current camera layer or hidden behind massive modular walls are instantly dropped from the rendering pipeline to save draw calls. Combined with a seamless terrain painting system that blends tiling textures directly onto the geometry's vertices, environment artists can mask out modular repetitions easily, creating believable organic-looking environments. Does your portfolio meet the standards we have seen in this video? AAA studios aren't looking for artists who just model assets. They want technical problem solvers who understand how assets function within a larger system. When you build a portfolio piece, you have to display your modular kits, your poly count for your props and hero assets, and your trim sheets, just like Larian's production team does. If you want to stop guessing and start building your workflow around these actual industry production standards, check out my comprehensive environment art course linked in the description below. We break down every single phase step by step with zero time lapses, showing you exactly how to build optimized, production-ready environments from A to Z. I'm also offering a AAA portfolio checklist that might help you figure out what's important for employers when applying for a job. The link is in the description. And a quick thank you to the members supporting the channel. Your support helps make these videos possible.